You see my talk?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining today. I'm going to present to you the LSST Science Platform Final Design Review. We decided, or it was actually decided before I joined the project, the previous World Order decided to have to schedule a design review of the science platform, and it's been pending for a while, and so we finally decided to make this happen. I'm just going to start very quickly by presenting an overview of the data management system, so you understand the whole big picture and where the science platform fits in. So LSST takes images, sequential 30-second images every night, producing roughly 20 terabytes of data per night. From this, we produce the prompt data products, up to about 10 million per night, and on a roughly annual basis, we produce the data release data products. The prompt data products are transmitted to the community via nightly alert streams with a 60-second latency, and these are accessible through the LSST filtering service and through community brokers. The prompt data products, which are produced on there's the 24-hour prompt data products as well, which are also accessible, through the LSST Data Access Center and other independent DACs. And then on a roughly yearly timescale, we have the data releases, which are also distributed via LSST data access centers and through other independent data access centers. And all of these data products, with the exception of the community brokers, which are third-party entities, anything that is a filter, the alerts filtering service, which will distribute the alert packets, the data release data products are accessible to LSST Science users via the LSST Science platform. This is a platform that provides access to all the data products and services for our LSST Science users. And this is the product that we're going to be conducting this final design review on. So many of you have probably used the science platform already in some form or another. You may also have seen it demonstrated at tutorials and at workshops. To summarize, it is a collaborative research environment for LSST Science, and is made up of a set of integrated web applications and services that are deployed at LSST data access centers, through which the scientific community can access, visualize, subset, and perform next to the data analysis of the LSST data products. It is made up of three key aspects: the portal aspect, through which you can conduct exploratory analysis of the data and visualization of the LSST archive; JupyterLab notebooks, which you can use to write code to do in-depth what we call next to the data analysis, and to use this also to create your own added value data products. And then there's a web API aspect, which allows remote access to the LSST archive using industry standard and in particular IVOA APIs. And all of these three aspects sit on top of a variety of back-end services, like, for example, the LSST data releases, the alert streams, user databases, which can be used to hold user-generated catalogs, which could be the output of these user-generated processing, and there's also a set of batch services and software tools that will be provided as well to run user jobs and. So, in its current incarnation, this slide here just shows you a snapshot of what the LSST Science platform looks like. You can see a screenshot here of the portal aspect, by which you have an LSST image, which has you can see these are detections on this image. Here you have the catalog associated with the detection, so you can explore the catalogs associated with this image, and you can also interactively create graphs and summary diagrams, including histograms, scatter plots of this data in this catalog. So this is very good for exploratory analysis and looking around the archive. Then, if you want to go a little bit further, you can write JupyterLab notebooks, and we have a JupyterLab interface here. You can see here is a directory structure with the user notebooks. This is the content of a user notebook, which supports Markdown, embedded figures, and there's also access to a terminal as well. So you have command line tools available to you as well at the same time as the notebook and a directory structure. And then finally, the web API aspect. This image here shows you a picture of the Tomcat tool, which is connecting to an archive. I think it's the Gaia archive here, but I'm not sure, it might not be. To access data in an archive through web APIs, and this uses IVOA protocols. And so this will be possible as well with the LSST archive. You'll be able to use third-party tools like Tomcat or anything else. And so that's what it currently looks like today. The vision, the long-term vision for the LSST Science Platform is outlined in a document that we call the LSST Science Platform Vision Document. This initiative was led by Mario, who was the data management scientist before I joined the project, and it outlines really how we think that the LSST science community and our science users are going to want to work with LSST data through the science platform. So it addresses topics like, how do we facilitate the analysis of petascale LSST data? How do we enable exploratory analysis through browsing and visualization in an interactive manner? How do we enable science discovery by bringing the analysis to the data and to move away from this model whereby people will subset data sets, download them to their computer, load them up in memory? This has an obvious limit. And with the volume of LSST data, we're not really going to be able to use that model. How do we support user-generated data products? So, users create new data products. They then want to federate them with catalogs. Perhaps they also want to federate them with archives, with other archives. So how do we support that sort of work? How do we integrate with other archives using IVOA protocols? How do we support collaborative working environments? So, for example, if you're in a science collaboration and you get together with a few people to work on a project which might lead to a paper, how do we support that collaboration through the science platform for sharing data products, sharing user-generated data products, and working together? And finally, how do we provision back-end computation and analysis resources so that people can, so that science users can execute big jobs on the science platform? So all these things are outlined in this vision document. So moving on to this final design review, what we've decided to do is schedule a formal and internal review of the planned capabilities of the LSST Science Platform in the operations era. So it's important to specify, to make clear that this is not just a review of the current state of the platform, but it's also a review of our vision, as outlined in the previous vision document. Is this vision correct? Is this how we think users are going to want to work with the science platform? Is this actually how users will want to work with the science platform? So the goal is to evaluate this vision and the design that is currently in place against the LSST science requirements, and to verify that both the current implementation and the future design for the Operations Era Science Platform meet the requirements of the science community. And in order to do this, I think in the best way, we really want to engage the LSST stakeholders in this process so that we can help get them to help us to identify issues now before we commit to further implementations. And so that's the driver behind this final design review. This document here, LDM 652, which is linked from this presentation, is the charge for the Science Platform Final Design Review. The committee members have already received a copy of it, but it is freely available, so please feel free to take a look at it. Some logistics for the review. It's planned for the 10th through to the 12th of April. We have 2 full days on the 10th and the 11th of April from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then we have a half day on the morning of Friday, the 12th of April, which is really for the review committee to review our presentation and to come up with recommendations for us and to give us their final review. Or, well, not their final review, but a pre-final review. The review will be held in Tucson, in the Aura building, and the details of the review are available online at this LSST project URL. So we've already put together the review committee. In doing this, both Gregory and I asked Federica to help us select representative reviewers across all the science collaborations so that we got full representation from the stakeholders, the LSST stakeholders. As well as representatives from the science collaborations, we have 2 members from the LSST project, Keith Bechtel from the commissioning team, who is also a member of DESC, and Richard Dubois from the camera team. We wanted to include both these parts of the project because the LSST science platform is going to be used as a tool in commissioning. The commissioning tool will access the data from the LSST camera and from ComCam during commissioning via the LSST science platform. And they will do their verification, run their verification program by writing notebooks in the LSST science platform, possibly by making use of data in other archives using the API aspect. They will almost certainly want to visualize and browse the data using the portal aspect. So we felt it was important to also include them on the review committee. We have Annie, yes?
Sorry, a small correction, not representatives from all the science collaboration because we were constrained by the size of the committee. So we try to straddle the sort of interests and expertise of all the science collaboration with a subset.
Right. Okay. Yes, that's correct. Thank you. Okay, and so we also have an external reviewer, Annie Thacker, who's from the SciServer team. SciServer, I'm sure many of you are aware of the SciServer platform for doing data analysis. We wanted to get the experience of someone who's already built a platform like the LSST Science Platform for doing science data analysis. From the science collaborations, as Federica says, we don't have a representative from every science collaboration, but we did attempt to get representatives from sufficient science collaboration so that we could cover all the different types of use cases that LSST scientists might want. So we have Rachel from TVS, also from LCO, so she also can represent the follow-up observatories and how they might want to also interact with the archive. David Kirkby, who is also a representative of the SAC, so we felt it was important to have representation from the Science Advisory Committee as well as the desk. A representative from Solar System and Moving Objects, Christian Johnson from the Stars Milky Ways team, Stephen Kelvin from Galaxies, and Tina Peters from AGM. What I would like to do in advance of this review is encourage the science collaboration chairs to talk to the representatives of their science collaborations who are on the review committee, or if there isn't someone directly from your science collaboration on the review committee, to talk to the reviewer who probably best represents your science collaboration's interests, and discuss the sort of things that you might want to see in the science platform and that you would like to, issues that you would like the reviewers to raise, to look at and to investigate with us, and to ensure that they're brought to the review.
Yeah, one brief comment there. It may be helpful to ask those people to announce this role to their science collaborations. I will say that's the first time I heard of. I think it's great, but I'm the chair of the AGN Science Collaboration, and I didn't know Tina Peters was doing this.
Yes, so. I reached out to Tina directly.
Okay.
I felt pretty comfortable with that choice.
No, I think that's great, absolutely. But I think having her and all the other people announce to their science collaborations that they're doing this, because I don't think people on the AGN Science Collaboration even know.
Yeah, exactly. So the purpose of this meeting is to make sure that this is announced, is propagated through the science collaboration, so that your science collaboration and all the science collaboration can talk to the internal member and make sure they do their homework. Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Fed. That's exactly the reason for giving this talk today, is to present to the science collaboration chairs the fact that this is happening and to give you, some notice about this. With respect to Tina, actually, I just ran into her this morning at the desk meeting, and she asked a very similar question. Actually, she wanted to know who the other reviewers were and to get in contact with them. So I will ask, or Federica can ask, I think. Federica, it might be better if you contact the reviewers, or do you want me to contact them?
I can do that. Okay.
Because Tina was also interested in getting a copy of this talk.
So I just want to point out, I don't think that this call should be the only way this kind of information gets out. There's this monthly or every couple weeks newsletter, and honestly, I think it could use more content, and this is something that could go in it, so that the burden's not just on the science collaboration chairs to pass this information on. So maybe you can consider adding that to that email and saying that you're having this meeting and those are the representatives, if they're okay with their name going out. So it's not just in a PowerPoint that I'm sending links to.
We have the head of our communications team on the call, Rampal, so she could easily take this list and distribute in the next e-news.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly that when these questions were coming up. So you will see that in the next digest. This digest has just gone out today, but I think we'll consider it for the next one, definitely.
That would be great. Thank you.
That's a good idea.
Aren't you guys impressed how responsive we are?
Very.
Very.
What is LCO? That's the one I don't recognize.
Las Cumbres.
The Las Cumbres Observatory.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so yeah, that's very good feedback. Thank you for that. And so just to finalize on the review committee, what we asked the committee to do is provide us with science-oriented feedback and recommendations on the design of the LSST Science Platform. So just briefly, I'll cover the materials that will be provided as part of this review. We will provide the documentation no later than 2 weeks prior to the review. We're currently working on some updates to our design documents that cover requirements, architecture, and interfaces. This also includes some details that pertain to the underlying database design that could impact the science performance. The current status of development, including technical progress. We will provide as well test specifications, including the verification and validation plans, a description of our future development plans and milestones through the completion of their relationship to major project milestones, as well as information going through commissioning and to the start of operations. And we'll also provide risk and mitigation plans. So as I said, these will be made available no later than 2 weeks prior to the review. My plan was to send these directly to the representatives on the committee. Perhaps we could encourage the representatives on the committee, though, to share those with the science collaborations and especially with the science collaboration chairs as well. People might want to review this documentation. Others who are not on the committee might want to review this documentation as well. Just a quick note on the scope of the review. So there are 3 key points here. We really want to focus on science use cases that address all 4 of the LSST key science themes. We plan to give a demonstration of the detailed product design and the realization process, which will cover things like database-oriented data access for large-scale analytics, possibly not using a database, so things like Parquet files, for example, if they're available, and bulk data access for non-data centers and user interfaces. We will actually provide some short demonstrations during the review. A quick note on QServe, which is the LSST database. It is considered to be outside the scope of this review. This review is a review of the science platform and not of the underlying database. However, there are several aspects of the QServe database design and its expected performance that could be relevant to science users, and especially of the ability of the science platform to satisfy the science requirements. And where this is the case, we will present those aspects of QServe in this review. So I'll very quickly just run through the charge. We have 9 questions in the charge. I'll run through each one of them, and I'm very happy to take feedback from people on the call. So first of all, we want to look at the traceability of requirements from the LSST science requirements document. We want to ensure that the requirements in the science platform requirements document are complete and that they will ensure coverage of all 4 key LSST science themes. And so we would ask here the reviewers to take a look at those requirements and ensure that all their science can be covered by the requirements as specified in the LSST Science Platform requirements documents. A second question, have we clearly identified all the stakeholders and do we understand their needs? Have the requirements been prioritized and communicated to a representative set of these stakeholders? So I think this really means, do all our stakeholders or have we identified all the stakeholders to cover the key science themes of LSST, and have we communicated the requirements to the science platforms for them? The third point, the design, we will present a design document, the LSST Science Platform design. Does this design fully capture the requirements? So are there any requirements that have been missed in the design? And based on the current design and the future design, are there any requirements that the reviewers think might not be realized? Fourthly, we will review the verification, validation, and software quality assurance plans. We ask the reviewers to think about whether they are adequate or not, and will they ensure that we can produce an operations-ready science platform for LSST data. Fifth point is about the performance of the current system and its development status. Does the current system and the direction that we're headed in the current development status, does this inspire confidence that we can achieve both an interim and an operations era functional science platform? And if not, if this doesn't, we'd like feedback on why not and where we think we should change direction. Sixth point, how does the design of our science platform for LSST, how does that compare with that of other contemporary astronomical archives and interfaces? So things like SciServer, for example, we have a representative from SciServer on the committee. There's also the Gaia archive. There are many other archives around. IPAC hosts several archives. How does this compare with other science platforms for doing scientific data analysis? How does our current design and implementation represent trends in software engineering? I mean, Does the review committee think that we will be able to evolve with the needs of 21st century astronomy over the full lifetime of the project? And remember that LSST will be taking data into the 2030s, and the science platform will be used for a long time to analyze this data. The seventh point: are there any items of significance in the design that would limit the science harvest of LSST? So again, this is sort of a point, ask the representatives from science collaborations if they think that they wouldn't be able to do any of their science, satisfy their science needs given the current design. Point 8, are the risks associated with the design understood, and have we adequately captured them, and are there any overlooked areas of risk? And finally, the ninth question in the charge is about scope options. We will present scope options accompanying the plans. And if we had to make cuts to the plan, are there any areas of the plan that could be descoped with minimal impact on LSST science? And related to that is the question about third-party tooling. Could we, for example, take advantage of third-party tooling in place of in-house development that might help us with such cuts if they had to be made? So they are the 9 questions that will be presented to the review committee as part of the charge. Maybe I'll just pause here and ask if anyone has any feedback or questions about this charge.
This is Tom. For this review, does design refer solely to the software, or is it also going to cover issues like what the hardware capabilities? Like if I envision my algorithms needing GPUs, are you going to have the right types of GPUs available, things like that?
Specifically, we were more thinking it would cover the architecture and the software. However, yes, that's also a point that could be raised. For example, can we deploy the LSST science platform on different hardwares and different hardware architectures? Another point to consider that we've been looking at also is deployment in the cloud. So yes, that would be very interesting to receive feedback on that as well.
Thanks.
Right, and so let me point out, Tom, that actually there are no representatives of the ISSC on the committee.
Yeah, I noticed.
And just because we were thinking of more sort of specifically astronomically driven science drivers, not to say that we don't understand that the ISSC will have significant requirements.
I understand. The size server representation probably covers a lot of the stuff we would have brought to the table. So. But if you, so I guess another question is, I'm not clear on whether you're interested in input from outside your committee, and if so, how that input would be communicated to you.
During the review, do you mean during this final design review?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so one of my goals in presenting this to the science collaboration chairs today was to inform you about this and to encourage you to get in touch with the representatives from your science collaboration, or the person who most closely represents your science needs, and to discuss those things in advance.
Okay, sounds good.
So this is why the charge is being presented. The review charge document is available. Yes, please read this, please think about it, and then discuss with the representative or some of the representatives on the panel the issues that you would like to see brought forwards.
Leanne, with that, do you want us trying to use the science platform? Because my collaboration still hasn't used it. We have a Jupyter Hub set up and we're using that. We haven't really even tried, and although there's Stack Club, there's no real clear instructions other than what's on the Stack Club website of how to move over or how to use it or how to request access. And can foreigners have access, or is it only US-based PIs have access to what's currently up? Can you talk a little bit about that, or point me to somewhere I can look at?
In fact, I had a discussion with Mario about this not long ago, and I'd understood that I thought that Mario was quite happy with the science collaboration working on the Jupyter Hub that he has set up at the Dirac Institute, but actually he'd be quite happy to move everyone onto the science platform for the work that you do. There were some questions around, I think, some of the software, the common software that you use that would need to be deployed on the science platform for you to have the same functionality as what Mario provides at the moment. So I'm very much in favor of that. And we do need to push this forwards in DM, seeing how we can get you guys working on the science platform.
So currently someone can't just sign up and try to use what's there. I'm saying, you know, so how does one get access?
So the access at the moment for people in science collaborations is through Stat Club. We did set aside, I think something like 40 nominal user accounts. So we haven't set them aside, we haven't created them, but we sort of nominally planned for around about 40 or so through Stat Club. I know that they don't have that many people in Stat Club. And I think this was being coordinated through Phil Marshall to sign up for accounts. But mostly we did want people to, in the science collaborations at the moment, who wanted to work with the science platform, to do this through Stat Club.
Okay, I guess that wasn't clear that was the only way was through Stat Club. Because I think they're a little too high level. Like my collaboration needs like really the basics. So there's been this that when I send out, people think it's too high level for them, and I think that's, you know, I can talk to Phil if there's ways to do less, but it wasn't clear to me that was the only way to move over is through Stat Club.
Well, that's the way that we've encouraged people to join up at the moment. We did have this discussion before that you felt that it was a little bit high level. I'm a little bit concerned about that. I mean, the Stat Club, I've been along a few times. I think that they're quite open to it. We have a representative from DM on each of the Stat Club meetings to help out and to give guidance from the data management side. Maybe we should review this with Phil and make sure that people who've never used the platform before don't feel intimidated about joining Stat Club, and that they can have a means, an avenue to join and to learn how to use the science platform.
I've had that conversation with Phil. And I think there's certainly room for there to be more onboarding type sessions to get those who aren't familiar up to speed, because I think it's like a very fast moving stone that it's really hard to catch up if you haven't been involved with it already. So yeah, I can also talk to Phil a bit more about that.
Okay. I think about a year ago it was very onboardy in nature, but the people who got onboarded helped each other a lot and people started to really advance. So that's really nice to see. But we do certainly need to keep that avenue open for more people who haven't used the Stat Club before and who haven't used the science platform to still be able to have that, you know, onboarding experience.
Right, or if there's documentations or a tutorial or a notebook, like here's how you get with that, where there's some from Stat Club, but it's not 100% clear if you look at it who you talk to be like, I'm stuck. And I think that's part of it, that it's getting people over that hurdle. And so my people are like, I don't know, that's too complicated. So I sent out and nobody wanted to sign up for Stat Club. Again, because they were like, I'm not at that level. So I think if there's maybe some happy medium, I think, or something else that's like we could get some intro people in. Maybe it's right. For separate things that would be useful
to do.
I mean, perhaps the possibility is that we discuss with Phil
tutorials in the next.
Right. So I've been talking to Phil as well and Leanne as well about this, and we've been talking about video tutorial and things that are just very basic and very approachable to get people started, to just sort of pass that hurdle of getting their very first couple of notebooks in, and then I think there is enough material for people to sort of self-pace and catch up. It's really just the initial step that is a little bit hard. Some people may even have little familiarity with the Jupyter environment altogether, which of course, you know, it's not really LSST responsibility to teach people how to use Jupyter notebooks. But nonetheless, if we can create some material or some references for that, that may help.
Right, and also it's not clear to me that my DM liaison is the same person who should be the liaison for the platform. So is that like, you know, if we're having a sprint in June, who would be the right person to invite to help with that? Would that be Mario, or is there someone else who's really more the platform person that would be better to have for that? I don't know if there should be a separate person, or maybe Leanne, you have some guidance on that.
You know, okay. Sorry, it seems that there are people who want to use this room now that I'm in, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to go a bit faster. Sorry, I missed that. I just had to coordinate with someone else. Yeah, so maybe we should have a chat to Phil. Let's take this offline. One thing I would suggest to Phil is that maybe once a month he runs an onboarding version of StatClub.
I really don't even think that it needs to be a live, like it doesn't need to be, because that would be excruciatingly boring for him or whoever runs it. Although we can do some distributed teaching, but really we just need to have a couple of sessions that are recorded and that can be reviewed as like a couple of onboarding webinars, maybe one every 6 months, and then record it so people that cannot make that could watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I think
okay, so let's take this offline.
I think that is part of the plan. It's
okay, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that is part of the plan. You know, the second LSST enabling science proposal that went in included something of that kind of frequency and recorded, particularly for international.
Specifically.
Can't make.
Phil and I had talked about it exactly for the Enabling Science proposal call.
Can I also suggest that members of the review panel get access to the LSP? I don't think I have an account yet.
Okay, that's a good point. Yes, I'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions on the charge? Okay, if not, I'll just move on to, I think this is my final slide, on the committee's report. So at the end of this review, we request the committee to provide a report to the LSST project scientists within 2 weeks detailing their major recommendations, which should represent a consensus of the committee's findings, comments, and recommendations. We would also recommend that at the end of the review itself, that a verbal exit briefing is provided based around a closeout presentation on the last day to convey actions and comments. We understand that this closeout presentation is not necessarily final and that those findings presented can be revised prior to the presentation of the final written report. So this activity has been scheduled for the Friday morning. We don't have any presentations or demos scheduled for the last morning of the review, so that whole morning is really at the review committee's discretion. Right, and that's all I had to say on this review, and just a few links here to some of the documents that exist already that are relevant to the review. So I'm happy to take any more questions if there are any. No? Okay, so it sounds like there are no more questions. Just to maybe summarize some of the actions out of that have already been discussed, I will follow up about getting the review committee accounts already on the science platform. And Fed and I will somehow coordinate ensuring that the representatives of the committee communicate that they're on this committee to the science collaborations and try to collect input from the wider science collaborations before the review.
Good. No more questions?
Just one quick one. So will this report be summarized somewhere? Or, I mean, maybe not the whole thing made public, but will some of those recommendations be sort of put somewhere we can read?
I hadn't really thought too much about that, but yes, I would think so, yes. I haven't really thought about how or in what way we would do that, but I wasn't thinking that they would be private, no. Željko, do you have any comments on that?
I don't.
I'm perfectly happy to share them with the science collaborations, as long as Željko has no objection.
I don't have objection.
Okay.
Rampal is pointing something out. We send a link for all the past talks. We usually copy the recording of this talk and slides to a site that Rampal just sent. Just look at the chat for Blue Jeans.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And also the last page in Leanne's talk this listing of documents, these are live links. You click on them and you go to the right document.
Are these online somewhere, like that summary? It's great to have it in a PDF or in a thing, but like, you know, having a web page makes it easier. Though, if it had listed these links, is there a science platform?
So the first link here is the Science Platform Review listing on Review Hub. This is an LSST site. I'm not sure, Rampal, can we link the documents into Review Hub?
So you were going to link them all from Confluence.
I could put them on yes.
Yeah, that's what you were going to do. You're going to link all of your document pack to Confluence.
Yeah. Okay.
And sorry, the first link I sent was wrong.
Oh,
I was copied out of a different chat place. Look at the second one.
It was a bit ironic.
This is only a subset of the documents that will be presented to the review committee. These are just a list of documents that exist now that are relevant.
Right, they're just a useful resource, but you know, if I have to download your talk to get to, I'm just wondering if there's a place we could put this online that's easy accessible, so that, you know, if people want to read about it.
Just the list of documents?
Yeah, or I don't know if there's, or is there a web page about the science platform? I guess I'm looking on lsst.org under for science, and I don't see. I don't see like a page.
We have a lot of resources on Confluence.
Oh, I guess I don't know the Confluence website.
Yeah, no, these are usually internal working pages. So yeah, as Rampal said, we discussed that we would create a Confluence page, but I can do that, create a Confluence page and put these links on that page.
I guess I don't even know how to get to the Confluence.
Yeah, you can make sure it's publicly accessible, and then sending a link to someone, they can simply click on it.
Yep, so I'll do that. I'll put these on a Confluence page. We'll get together a Confluence page which describes the review.
Right, I think it's a bit premature to put it on the For Scientists page, which will soon get re-released anyways. But because I don't think we necessarily want people to look through this and learn from the non-final version of the science platform. So I don't think we should put them on the For Scientists LSST.org pages.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yes. I just don't know. I didn't know I don't know what the Confluence website is. So that doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah, I've been there, Meg.
Known about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to find things in Confluence.
Been there.
I know,
been there embarrassingly recently.
I will send you a link, Meg.
That would be great.
I will send you a link via Federica to the science collaborations.
There are links to, well, it's often called the LSST knowledge base, on various pages in lsst.org to Confluence, but you do need an account to access them.
Oh, that might be why I haven't, because I don't know if I do have permission.
You probably do, but you might not know.
That may be why.
Okay, so that's all from me, Fed.
No, I think Fed is chairing. Fed, I'm assuming it's your meeting.
Yeah, I was chairing, but I was muted. I went through like 5 sentences already. So if there are no further questions and no further comments, I think we can meet again in a month. We have a schedule talking about commissioning next month, March, top of my head, 27th.
Same date as today. 27th.
Exactly. And yeah, we'll see you there. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Fed. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Leanne.